So Fortnite, right? They got Ghostface finally, and he looks amazing. I love the skin, but I remember seeing a few people saying stuff like, "This is cool, sucks that Behavior couldn't get Scream," and I agree. But I also saw a small amount of people hating on Dead by Daylight's Ghostface, and I won't tolerate slander towards my goat. So today I want to talk about Danny Johnson, the best Ghostface. Now Ghostface has shown up in all kinds of games before, both pre and post Dead by Daylight. He's shown up in games like Call of Duty, Mortal Kombat 12, and most recently Fortnite. But all these inclusions and depictions are the Scream version of the character, while Dead by Daylight's Ghostface is an original character created by Behavior. This is because the Ghostface mask is owned by a separate company called Funworld. If Behavior wanted to get the Scream version, they would have to get the rights from both Funworld for the mask and then Paramount for the movies, and at the time, that would have cost them a lot of money. The Ghostface chapter released on June 18th, 2019, and was a killer paragraph with just him. He's a stealth killer who can enter a form called Night Shroud, giving him undetectable and the ability to stalk survivors. Fully stalk a survivor, and you can insta-down them. To simply put, Danny is if the Ghostface killers were just one guy and if he locked the fuck in. His base lore covers the basics. Danny Johnson, or Jed Olson, is a freelance reporter by day and killer by night. He grabs an old newspaper and reads about the Ghostface killer, and he loves what he's reading as the killings are about him. He's why they're in there. He looks at a wall of newspaper clippings of what he calls his quote-unquote scenes before packing his things and moving to a new town. This tells us a bit about Danny's character. He's a very proud killer. He's reading his past stories with a smile and has a bunch of them on the wall like a giant canvas, and he even calls his crimes quote-unquote scenes. We wouldn't really get any more Danny content until Tome 13 Malevolence, as he was the main killer for the tome alongside Michaela Reed. Danny's tome story is titled Beneath the Mask, and I'm not going to read the entire story, go watch a YouTube video or read it in-game, but all you need to know is that it essentially explains how Danny got into the realm. The story begins with Danny talking about horror stories, more specifically, his father's war stories. However, Danny is focusing on the wrong parts of these stories. Quote, his father wanted him to design stories just like he did, follow his path, hunt and murder human beings in the shadows like he did. He really liked the part where his dad got to kill the guy and not any of the other bits. Danny then starts looking for his next design and finds a man named John Michaels. Here that we see that Danny takes these designs very seriously. He didn't just pick up a phone book and choose a random name in it. John Michaels was picked for a reason. John Michaels, a person with two first names. Fantastic. He glances over his surveillance notes. 9 to 5, award-winning teacher, single, townhouse with a white picket fence. Doesn't really deserve to die. Perfect. He describes his choice almost like a director directing a scene in a movie. He then explains that after John Michaels, every John or Michael reading the paper would be stricken with fear, just as he wants. He's like a reporter, wanting his story to reach the masses and really affect them. He starts stalking John, learning his entire routine and organizing the perfect kill. In this entry, we learn that Danny has a pretty morbid sense of the world. He reminisces about arguing with his professor over what humans are. He argued humans were intrinsic killers, killers that evolved to enslave, acquire, destroy, and eventually self-destruct. Then comes the day of the killing. Everything is going to plan. As Danny goes in for the kill, something catches his eye. A newspaper article from the Urban Farce. A caricature of his killings. A parody. A goddamn parody. Danny is pissed. In this scene we learn the most important part of his character. He has a huge ego. He plans these intricate killings, learning every little detail, striking fear into many across multiple towns. But one small article from an underground newspaper is all it takes to set him off. After this, he spares John Michaels and sets off to find the ones who made fun of him, not out of creating a sensational story, but to get back at them for being mean to him. He tracks them down to a laser tag arena and follows them in. If he wasn't seething already, he sees a caricature of his goat, the miner, definitely not the trapper. In a fit of rage, he runs in and kills the guys that made the article about him. Afterwards, he sits in the arena, and that's when Beneath the Mask ends. This story is really, really good. One of the best tome stories in the game, in my opinion. It gives us a look into Danny as a character and shows that, while he's a very calculated killer, he's also a huge loser with a massive ego. He's a more realistic Ghostface killer. While Scream's killers are inspired by horror movies, Danny is inspired by real killers in lore, as the miner is clearly a nod to the trapper who caused the greatest disaster in modern history, with his little mining explosion. I call him realistic as you see the recent infatuation with real-life serial killers. with documentaries or people being like, Ted Bundy may have killed a bunch of women, but damn, he was bad as hell. There's also a few serial killers who were inspired by other serial killers, just like Danny was. Visually, Danny's costume looks very different from the Scream version. His costume's a lot more professional, with it being leather and a lot tighter around him, while the Scream one wears a very flowy cloth. That's easy to step on. Never mind if you've ever seen these movies, the final act is essentially a Scooby-Doo episode. His skins are also all original except for the classic one, which is not based on Scream. It's based on the original Halloween costume by Funworld. The only Scream reference in the game with him is the weapon cooldown animation being the knife wipe. The Silver, Viper, Devil, Scarecrow, Zombie, and Bleeding Ghostface masks are all made by Funworld. They're real Ghostface masks. The What's Up one is based on the movie Scary Movie, and everything else is original. The Viper Ghost, Icebound Phantom, Blighted, Devil, and Anniversary skins were also made into real-life Halloween costumes by Funworld. Danny is a very special character for me. He was my first main, and the first cosmetic I remember ever buying from the in-game shop was the What's Up mask. While future killers have taken that main killer spot for me, it's still nice to see him in games. Hope you enjoyed this little character analysis kind of video, and hopefully have a newfound respect for Danny, and have a good rest of your day.